Welcome back to FM Story. We're in the second half of our 7th season. The league isn't going so great. We're currently sat in 7th, 4 points outside of the European spots as they stand, although 7th might become a European spot depending on what happens with the Copa del Rey. The reason we're sitting so low in the table compared to where we were last season is we've literally drawn a third of our games this season, most of which, like the game against Barcelona at the end of the last episode, have seen us concede equalisers deep into injury time. So that's obviously something we need to fix. On the flip side, the Champions League's going really well. In the league phase, we finished 5th, so obviously got the bye past the playoff round, so we're straight into the last 16. Hopefully we can get a decent draw in that and make it at least to the quarterfinals or semi-finals of that. But we really need to do something to turn this league form around. Before we do get started, if you do enjoy the video, please like, comment and subscribe. And without further ado, let's get going. We're now approaching the end of February, and we're going to end the game with a big game, the first leg of the last 16 game in the Champions League against Borussia Dortmund away. Actually, probably one of the better draws we could have got. And when you look at it, the teams on the left are the ones that came through the playoffs. So you've got Porto, Monaco, Leipzig, Barcelona, Newcastle, Milan and Napoli. So it's not the best draw we could have probably had, and it's certainly not the worst draw we could have had. So hopefully we can go into this first leg away from home and put in a performance. We have managed to also turn around the form in the league a bit. We have tweaked the formation slightly. So what we've done is we've dropped the wing backs back to supporting from attacking, and we've turned the centre forward into a poacher, and we've knocked the mentality back from positive back to balanced, and we've also just knocked the tempo down a bit because we were struggling towards the end of games as well. But in terms of performances, you can see we've played 4 games so far in February. We've won 3 of them. We've lost 1 against Real Madrid, and really we got done with a sucker punch there. Firstly, the game against Sevilla. If you look at the XG, it looks like we were maybe lucky to win, but really we dominated the first half. Kepa made a couple of decent saves to keep us in front, but really they didn't do an awful lot in terms of looking like they were going to score. And really we played quite well. That was the first game with the little tweak to the formation. We then followed that up with the game against Real Madrid, and we were managing the game pretty well. They didn't have that many chances. We dealt with them when we had them, and then they broke clear in the last minute, and Vinicius Jr. bent the ball into the bottom corner, and that was it. Game over. We lost 1-0. Don't think we really deserved to. Although, having said that, we weren't really a threat at the top end of the pitch. But we did manage the game pretty well. But just another one of those late goals that we've conceded all season. We bounced back from that game with another comfortable win away at Malaga this time. The formation really seems to have made a difference. What we've also done is, with having Laporte signed, we've gone for a central defensive pairing of Laporte and Lenormand, and we've pushed Danny Vivian forward alongside Sanset in front of the back 4, which has allowed Guillamon to play at right back without any kind of real problems. Unfortunately, Laporte's in the last couple of days picked up an injury in training, so he's going to be out for 3 or 4 weeks. So he's going to miss both legs of the semi-final of the game again. He's going to miss both legs of the game against Dortmund. But moving Vivian into that position really has seemed to have kind of brought a spark to his game. He scored a lovely goal from outside the box in this game, and Nico Williams doubled the tally just before half-time. And then we were able just to keep them quiet in the second half and come away with a comfortable 2-0 victory. And then we welcomed Villarreal to San Mamés, and again, Danny Vivian opened the scoring with a screamer from outside the box. Corner was headed clear, he picked it up, one touch, and then smashed it into the top corner. Sunset got lucky in that a defender kicked it off him and it went past the keeper to double the lead. But we were well in control at half time. They started the second half pretty well, and Gullickson scored a screamer that was even better than Vivian's from sort of 25, 30 yards that flew past Kepa. But other than after that, we just kind of shut the game down a bit. They didn't create that many good chances afterwards, and we held on to the 2-1 victory. So as far as the league's concerned, we're currently sat 7th. And we're fairly comfortable in 7th because we've got a game in hand on Calta in 8th, and we're 6 points clear of them. We're 2 points behind Sociedad, but we've played a game more, and we're 3 points behind Valencia and 5 points behind Villarreal. And then the rest of them are probably just a bit too far away from us to be able to catch. But hopefully we can put in some performances towards the end of the season and haul in like Sociedad, Valencia, Villarreal. Going into the game against Dortmund, obviously we had that injury to Laporte, so Montero's coming at the back to partner Normand, which means that Guillamon can stay right back, Danny Vivian can stay in front of the back four alongside Sunset, and otherwise it's the same team that's played the last couple of games where we've picked up some victories, and hopefully we can continue that into this game away in Dortmund. I think it's going to be important to get off to a decent start. Formations are fairly similar, so hopefully it's just cancel each other out, but we can get off to a decent start, get the wide players involved, get some chances for Ribeiro, then hopefully we can take advantage of this first leg and put ourselves in a good position for the home leg, because generally our performances have been a lot better at home. Long free kick, we've headed clear. They've got acres of space. Oh, John Guerrero's nicked it away. Doesn't really have an awful lot of support though. Back to Guillamon, Nico Serrano. Oh, that would have been a great start. Montero, it's a Sunset who's lost out. Oh, just an error of our own making, giving the ball away inside the centre circle. And then just not clearing our lines. That's just not good enough. There's no way we should be losing this game. Right, Nico Williams, Phil John Guerrero, Ribeiro. Oh, man. What a ball. Oh! Right. Not the result we were hoping for. We should have done much better, but it's not the end of the world. It's only 1-0 going into the second leg at home. We just need to get a fast start in that second leg. We're now coming up to the last game we've got in March, which is an away game against Betis. Since the first leg of game against Dortmund, we've been through kind of the usual roller coaster. So after we lost that first leg 1-0 to Dortmund, we then went to Real Sporting Gijón and just didn't perform. If you look at the stats, pretty much even. XG was even-ish. Shots and shots on target were even. But Kepa had a bit of a stinker. And particularly the goals for Gregara. Particularly the goals for Gregara, the 50th and 55th minute, really should have done better. We did get ourselves back in with a chance through two long-range efforts from Danny Vivian. to bring it back to 3-2. But as we were pushing on, they picked us off on the counter-attack to end the game 4-2. And at that point, so going into the second leg against Dortmund, things weren't looking particularly good. Having lost the first leg and having then got beaten by Sporting Gijón. We did see at the end of the Dortmund game that we needed to get off to a fast start if we were going to have a chance of winning the home leg and going through in the tie. And we did that with Nico Williams scoring after 3 minutes. Really even game. Although they had 5 shots on target and 0.98 XG, there wasn't much in the way of highlights from them. And just as the game looked like it was heading to going into extra time, Zubimendi swung a ball out to the left-hand side. Vallejo chested it down, smashed a shot straight at the keeper, and it seemed to just squirm through his grasp and nestle in the bottom corner. And that gave us the 2-1 victory on aggregate. And yeah, we were a bit fortunate to get through that. But this game does seem to have kind of turned our form around slightly, because we followed it up with a 1-0 victory at home against Elche, who'd beaten us last time out. And although we didn't dominate them, we didn't create loads and loads of chances, we restricted their chances, we kept hold of the ball, we weren't under any real threat, and we managed to come away with a clean sheet and a 1-0 victory. And then we followed it up in the most recent game with a 4-0 victory over Celta Vigo. Pretty much the same thing. First half, there wasn't many highlights for either side, but we were able to take advantage of the chances when they came in the second half. We kept it pretty tight at the back, even though we had to make quite a few changes with people being tired. And Unai Ribeiro picked up a hat-trick to see us to that 4-0 victory. What that means going into the Betis game is that we're back up into 6th position now. We're level on points with Valencia, having played the same number of games as them. We've got a game in hand on Villarreal, who are above us in 5th, but we're 5 points behind them. So hopefully we can carry on this decent form towards the end of the season. Obviously with us having knocked out Dortmund in the last 16 of the Champions League, we've now got another trip to Germany, and we play Bayern in the quarterfinal, and we start with the home leg first against Bayern. So in terms of the Bayern squad, as you would expect, it looks a decent quality. But hopefully we can put in a performance and come away with victory in the quarterfinal. We'll see that in the next episode. And so we go into this last game against Betis and just looking to continue that good run of form. We've played 3 games in all competitions now without conceding a goal, so hopefully we can keep that going and continue on with the fine form in front of goal from the Celta Vigo game. So we made a couple of changes to the lineup for this game against Betis. Danny Vivian's back from suspension, so he goes back in front of the back four alongside Sunset. Hugo Gilman goes to right back where Alex Sola's injured. Laporte is still not quite fit enough to start. He can play 60 minutes according to the physio, so we might bring him on in the second half, but we'll partner Montero with Lenormand in the centre of defence. And other than that, it's pretty much the same team that started the last couple of games. And let's see if we can get off to a decent start in this game. That was a really dour first half. Not much happened. Obviously, we lost Sunset through injury, but not many chances for either side. And no highlights. All right, Julian John Guerrero with a free kick. Straight to their keeper. This is going to be a ball over the top of our central defenders for them to score. Oh no. Right, Huarte to Nico Williams. I don't quite understand what happened there, other than Montero was 5 yards further. Why? Right. Long ball from Kepa. Ribeiro knocks it down to Julian John Guerrero. Oh my god. If only we could get some consistency in this team. Unbelievably bad. I know there's going to be it's a young, for the most part, especially in the attacking areas, it's a young side, so there's always going to be inconsistency. But it needs to change. It needs to change soon. So it's youth intake time. Before we actually get the intake in, this is the preview for this season. Again, they're predicting a 5-star, excellent intake. It looks like we've got a decent goalkeeper coming through, a decent fullback, and potentially a couple of decent central midfielders, and then not an awful lot elsewhere. So obviously we'll see what happens when we get the intake. But yeah, it looks like we've got, looking at the position map, we've got yet more left wingers coming through, which is what we seem to get every year. Number 10s, centre midfielders, and a couple of centre halves. But whether they're of any quality or not, we'll find out when we see them. So the youth intake is here. We've got 2 elite talents, 5 top talents, and the same in good talents as well. So the first elite talents, John Ross. Very good mentals. Showing as a centre back here, but showed as a right back on the previous screen. Certainly, I think he probably is more of a centre back than a right back. Just look at the mentals and the technicals. And what you can see as well, just in terms of the blurb, it says led by the very gifted John Ross, so obviously they're expecting something big from him. The other elite talent is Edu Torres. Again, really decent looking mentals, decent looking technicals in terms of first touch passing technique as well, to go with the teamwork, the decisions, the determination of the flyer. Good natural fitness as well. Potential for a decent player there. And then in terms of the top talent, so we've got Pedrera, who's the goalkeeper, who they said was a decent one coming through, and certainly looks okay, although the punching and rushing out kind of scares me a touch, but I suppose the rushing out probably leads more to being a sweeper keeper than anything else. We've got Azio Romero, who's yet another left back. We've got Azio Romero, who's yet another left winger. But and the initial glance is that he's not on the same level as Maturana or Vilio, who've come through in the last 2 or 3 seasons. Talatesha, who I think probably is more a full back, like a wing back, than anything else. There's nothing outstanding there, so it's going to be a case of how he develops. But potentially he could develop into a wing back. Aguirre, another centre midfielder, decent first touch and technique, but the rest of the technicals are a bit weak. decent decisions and teamwork, but I don't think he's going to pretend to be the star of the bunch anyway. And then we've got Badiola, a number 10 or centre midfielder. Decent mentals again, some decent technical start in there as well. The physical's obviously going to need developing, but a little bit of potential there as well. Overall, looking at the players, I mean, obviously the attributes at the start, they're only 15, so they're going to develop, but it certainly looks like it's the weakest youth intake we've had, and it looks far from the excellent that I've been promised and that they've told me it is. But we'll see. I mean, obviously it's going to take a while for some of these players to get into the team. They're not of the same ability, or they don't appear to be of the same level of ability as a Maturana or a Vallejo, who can kind of come straight into the first team squad within sort of the first season of coming out of the youth intake. But you know what? We'll see how it goes. Hot on the heels of our youth intake, the NXGN 2029. Hot on the heels of our youth intake, the NXGN 2029 has been announced, the top 50 Wonder Kids, and we have number one, a certain Unai Ribeiro, who's made the centre forward position his own in this middle to the second half of the season. Number one on the list, the only one of our players that actually made the list, I think. Yep, but certainly really big achievement, especially considering he wanted to go last season because he wasn't playing, and we couldn't get him in any kind of form in the first half of the season. But certainly since around Christmas, he's really started scoring some goals. So well done to him. And that's the end of this episode. Join us next time to see if we can manage to get past Bayern Munich in the quarterfinal of the Champions League, and see if we can manage to secure a position in Europe through the league. We'll see you then.